you're writing that screenplay and you don't have any points where your characters actually have to make a life-changing decision, you have to go back to the drawing board. Most bad stories don't fail because the idea is bad. They fail because they're missing this shape. This is called the Freytag pyramid, and it's my personal storytelling weapon. Let me show you how it works. But first, this is bite-sized screenwriting tips with the Unstoppable Jenny, and this is our extended version because now I really want to teach. So we'll start with the different angles of the Freytag pyramid. Freytag is a German playwright, by the way. So this pyramid was named after him. So first, every story must have a starting point. It must peak and then it must land. That is the first thing you understand from this pyramid, right? And then every story, like I said, must have a starting point. So that's what we have here, which is the exposition. This is where we meet our characters for the first time. That's the exposition. And then we have the rising action, because after we meet our characters, we need to know the journey that they're going on. Now there's a personal trick that I usually add along this place, and it's called the inciting incident. For me, the inciting incident happens soon after the story takes off, which is somewhere along this line. If you watched any of my bite-sized screenwriting tips episodes, you know that I've talked about the inciting incident. So for me, the inciting incident happens soon after the exposition. Let's say 15 to 20 pages into your screenplay, we need to have had an inciting incident. We need the thing, the action that propels the protagonist into a reaction. And then we have the rising action, a series of conflicts, counter-conflicts, resolutions, choices, decisions that your characters have to make that will lead them to this very pinnacle, which is the climax or crisis of choice. To deal with the consequences of the choices that they make or they will make. So here we have the crisis of choice, and then we have a falling action, which is the sum total of the consequences that your character will face after they've taken a decision here. And of course, at the end, we have a resolution or a cliffhanger. So let's tell a story with, say, okay, one of my favorite characters, Kiliwe, right? Kiliwe, we meet Kiliwe at the beginning. This is the exposition. We meet Kiliwe, what does she want? Because every character, every protagonist has to have a goal. Kiliwe wants to join her school's handball team, but she doesn't know how to because she's not a very good athlete, right? That's the exposition. And then she's debating about whether or not to join the school handball team. And then we have the inciting incident, which is when Nafisa, her greatest op, tells her, Kiliwe, I know you don't have what it takes to join the school's handball team. I know you're not going to make the team. Now Kiliwe feels challenged. Oh, you know what? I'm going to try. I'm going to make a tryout for the school's handball team. And then we have the rising action, which shows Kiliwe practicing how to play handball, failing, learning, you know, going through the motions of preparing herself for the great decision of when she's going to actually join the handball team. And then we get to the crisis of choice. Now it's the audition for the handball team. And then the coach tells Kiliwe, Kiliwe, you have to make a choice. If you audition for the handball team and you don't get in, you don't get to come back anymore. Now Kiliwe has to decide, do I have what it takes to join the handball team, or should I just walk away? That is the crisis of choice. She has to make a decision at that point. And then the falling action is the consequence of whatever Kiliwe decides to do. So if, let's say, she decides to go with choice A, okay, I'm going to try out for the handball team, and she doesn't make it, she has to deal with the consequences of Nafisa laughing at her, her classmates laughing at her, and all the shame that will follow. Or she actually makes the team, and then she has to deal with the falling action of being able to laugh in Nafisa's face and say, ha ha ha, I told you so. So that is what, and then of course we have the resolution or the cliffhanger. So that is our Freytag triangle, and I want you to practice it today. Every time I want to write a story, the first thing I do, and I tell everyone that I've ever thought about screenwriting or told anything about screenwriting, the first thing I do once again is draw my Freytag triangle. It helps me know my high points, my low points, my rising action, my resolution, and everything. This, in a summary, is what guides my storytelling. So you need to try it today. Are you writing a screenplay today? You need to ask yourself, what is my exposition? Who are my characters? What journey are they going to go on? What is their crisis of choice going to be? If you're writing that screenplay and you don't have any points where your characters actually have to make a life-changing decision, you have to go back to the drawing board because you do not have a crisis of choice and you do not have any moment that is strong enough or tense enough to persuade the audience that these characters have truly gone on a journey. I hope I have been able to convince and not confuse you that you need to start your story with a pyramid today. It's Bite-Size Screenwriting Tips with Unstoppable Jenny. See you next time.